Hello everyone, welcome to the Buzz the Prey Manga. Today we continue the latest Global Freeze chapter, rewritten and edited by me in English for a smooth reading experience. All visuals and story flow are personally edited to give you the best manga style storytelling. Support the original creator by checking the official manga. So let's dive right into the today's chapter.
Chapter 2645 White Emperor's Battle Suit 1. Zhang Yi watched quietly, then reached out and turned off the light screen. The captain's cabin was suddenly filled only with the low hum of the engines coming from a great distance, as if the entire universe were asleep. The sense of time displacement truly weighed on him at that moment. They were in the Martian world, and it felt like less than 2 months had passed. 2 whole years have passed in the outside world. 2 years is enough time for a child to grow from babbling to running, jumping, and playing. Enough for a city to rebuild from the ruins and light up again. Enough for countless people to die on the battlefield and in conspiracies. Zhang Yi rubbed his temples, trying to suppress those complicated emotions little by little. He brought up the email interface again. Faced with a string of familiar names, he finally only typed characters. I'm back. Based on the distance between Mars and Earth and the speed of signal transmission, they will receive this message in a few tens of minutes. At that moment, he understood why sometimes the shortest words have the most impactful effect. Because nothing else needs to be written in the letter. Just do it. He pressed the send button. The signal was initially transmitted to Earth via an interplanetary repeater, covering a distance of about 5 minutes along the way, and was relayed several times. But that doesn't matter anymore. The important thing is that someone on the other end will see it. He stood up, stretched his stiff shoulders, and pushed open the door to leave the captain's cabin. Outside is the main corridor of the Dreamer. The lights were soft, and the gravity system was stable, so they couldn't feel that they were flying through the void at extremely high speeds. After turning a corner, a noisy commotion came from ahead. That's the rest area. Fatty Sue put his feet on the table, munching on a nutritional biscuit while sighing. I said, this stuff is definitely not for human consumption. I'll fight anyone who invented it. I'd rather go back to Earth and eat 2 bowls of brown rice than eat this plastic-tasting stuff again. Zhou Kuer leaned back on the sofa, holding a cup of hot water, her shoulders shaking as she tried to suppress her laughter. There was no shortage of food on the spaceship, of course, but the researchers who had been trapped on Mars for 2 years were clamoring to let Zhang Yi and the others experience the hardships they had endured. So for the next period of time, Zhang Yi and the others actually ate those pre-prepared meals. Li Yongyong sat beside her, her fingers tapping a light rhythm on the table, seemingly providing background music for Su Pengzi's complaints. Uncle Yu sat not far away, half of the armor on his arms and legs removed, revealing a dense network of tubing inside. He was inspecting himself while glancing at the pile of nutritional capsules, his eyes indifferent. Clearly, in order to better adapt to various environments, he has sealed away his sense of taste in some corner. Liang Yu sat cross-legged on the ground, a knife across her knees, her eyes slightly lowered as she meditated. Her current state is like finding a thin line between fighting and resting, ready to draw her sword at any moment. Lu Karen occupied most of the area in the hall. The projection on the wall is a 3D model of the mechanical structure of the Sand Raider civilization. A guard robot, an armed battle maiden, a single module of and fragments of the boundless sphere were all disassembled into layers of structural diagrams, which floated in midair and slowly rotated. For Lu Karen, technology that is billions of years ahead of its time is the best treasure. She only needs to touch these substances with her own hands to perfectly disassemble them, analyze their structure clearly, and learn about their manufacturing methods. Although they have left the Martian world, and there is no artificial planet to supply these sand-sweeping robots, as long as the supply can be replicated, there will always be a way to solve these problems. Especially those 10 armed battle maidens, they are just degraded versions of Ling. Each armed war maiden possesses independent combat capabilities, and when they unite, they can even pose a threat to night-level inhumans, because they can continue to evolve through battles. Several members of the mechanical engineering team huddled together nearby, watching with shining eyes occasionally letting out low exclamations. Yang Xinshin sat at the bar, holding a cup of black coffee in her hand, her gaze occasionally rising to fall on the projection of Lu Karen on the wall. Her expression was calm, yet it carried a hint of lingering vigilance. Zhang Yi stepped inside. The room fell silent for a moment, then quickly returned to its noisy state. "Big brother, you've finally decided to come out for some fresh air." Fatty Sue waved his hand indistinctly, with half a biscuit in his mouth. "If you don't show up soon, I'll start to suspect that you choked to death on a nutrition capsule in the captain's cabin." "Brother Zhang Yi." Lu Karen immediately looked up, her eyes shining like two little light bulbs. "You've come at the right time. I have so many discoveries to show you." She ran over excitedly, her soft little hands slightly calloused, and pulled Zhang Yi's big hand, running towards the area filled with various mechanical equipment. Zhang Yi's eyes sparkled. Lu Karen was a crucial figure in their team's technological advancement. Every technological breakthrough she made brought about an improvement in the team's overall strength. "What major discovery has been made yet?" Lu Karen winked playfully at Zhang Yi. "You'll definitely love this." She took Zhang Yi's hand and led him to the wall. She reached out and made a gesture in midair, and in the next instant, a pure white projection of battle intent appeared in the air. The perfect 3D projection technology makes it look almost identical to the real thing. A pure white battle suit composed of the part: helmet, shirt, pants, and combat boots. Predominantly white, the outfit appears to be form-fitting, made of matte material with very smooth lines, giving it a cyberpunk aesthetic. Zhang Yi looked strangely familiar. This is the new inner armor? He is currently wearing the 9th generation of black battlesuit, which is worn close to the body and can enhance the body's basic attributes. The middle layer is a new type of combat uniform. The end demon armor is actually the second layer of protection. Yang Xinshin shook her head. It's not that kind of thing. Brother, does this look familiar?" Zhang Yi already felt like he'd seen her somewhere before, and upon hearing her say that, he couldn't help but take a few more glances. He quickly realized what was going on and clapped his hands. "Isn't that what Adam was wearing?" "That's right." Yang Xinshin snapped her fingers. She said excitedly, "Brother, the Tsongyuan clan's technology is no longer sufficient. Instead of upgrading based on this material, why not forge a completely new battle suit? The armor looks heavy, but it will eventually make it a bit inconvenient to move around. I collected Adam's particle structure in his world. So, I want to use his body components to forge a new suit for you. I plan to call it the White Emperor's Battle Suit." Chapter 2646, White Emperor's Battle Armor 2. Lu Karen explained her production philosophy to Zhang Yi. "In the past, because our technology was not mature enough, we were able to achieve a higher level of defense by piling up materials. This feeling is similar to the mindset of heavy artillery and warships in the war era. But now, we have more powerful technology and no longer need to be bound by heavy armor protection." Zhang Yi thought of Ling and Adam's battlesuits. Indeed, Ling's suit didn't have anything that was heavy. However, as an interdimensional being created by the Aihen tribe's highest technology, Rin's physical structure is different from that of the type. But how can we equip so much gear without armor? Zhang Yi asked a very tricky question. The demon god armor actually contains many modern weapons and equipment. For example, the miniature version of the Death of Love, used by someone at Zhang Yi's level, is comparable in power to the Tsar Bomba. However, its size is about the size of an anti-machine gun sniper rifle bullet, and it can be stored in the armor of the armor. In addition, there are other equipment such as military stimulants, healing agents, and many other items that need to be stored. Lu Karen looked at Zhang Yi seriously and said, word by word, "You just need to decipher the spatial abilities, and then you can do it." Zhang Yi's body trembled. Breaking the code of spatial abilities. Spatial abilities, originally considered to be possessed only by the chosen ones, are now being replicated by technology. However, this is also very reasonable, because most of these superpowers are things that already exist in reality. Fire, ice, and flight, These are things we can achieve through technology. In the past, due to insufficient technology, the strange things seemed very magical. Having seen so many mechanical life forms that could convert energy into different types of supernatural energy, it wasn't particularly strange that they could crack spatial abilities and load them into their battlesuits.
Can you do it now?
Zhang Yi asked curiously. Lu Karen replied, Of course, we can't do anything too complicated with spatial abilities. But based on the spatial technology provided by the engineer, it's still possible to load weapon devices into the White Emperor battlesuit. Excitement gleamed in Zhang Yi's eyes. Approximately how long will it take to complete? If nothing unexpected happens, we should be able to achieve this before we return to Earth. Lu Karen proudly raised her chin. After all, I now possess complete theoretical knowledge and materials. All I need to do is implement the theory. Zhang Yi immediately nodded. All right, then you should study this thing carefully during this time. You can put everything else aside for now. However, for a considerable period of time to come, Lu Karen will most likely not have time to rest. Even with the help of a large number of engineered mechanical life forms, it would take her a long time to thoroughly master and replicate the Ahen race technology mastered by the engineers, as well as the various technologies obtained from the Sand Raider civilization. Receive. Lu Karen excitedly picked up various tools and continued working on her battle suit-making business. Yang Xinxin put down her cup, her gaze gentle yet earnest. Brother Zhang Yi, have you finished reading the letter from Earth? Zhang Yi nodded slightly. I've finished reading it. He walked to the bar, habitually picked up a glass of hot water that had been reserved, and drank it down in one gulp. The scalding heat traveled from his throat down into his chest, suppressing the deep-seated emotions surging within him. How is the situation on Earth? Has the Huashu kingdom suffered a major crisis? Uncle Yu put away the maintenance tools in his hand and looked up at him. This burly man, who always charged ahead on the battlefield, had an unusually calm look in his eyes at this moment. Without us, can the other regions hold on? After thinking for a moment, Zhang Yi decided not to immediately reveal all the worst details. It's still within a controllable range for now. He put down his cup and his gaze swept over everyone present. About a year after we left, the ancient civilizations around us began to stir. The Fawn Wolf clan, the Ironclad clan, and the Titan clan are constantly probing the border and attacking our garrison and survey teams. Over there in the land of the marshland, the East Sea and the Heavenly Sea are also under great pressure. But they held on, so at least the current losses are still within an acceptable range. In other words, Liang Yu opened her eyes, her gaze sharp as a knife. They've been getting beaten up. Yes. Zhang Yi sighed, narrowed his eyes slightly, and gazed at the earth, which was barely visible to the naked eye, in the vast universe. They're acting on my orders and they're doing a good job. When you are not capable enough, you have to lie low and do your job properly, and there is nothing wrong with that. However, the situation always deteriorates very quickly. I suspect that it won't be long before those ancient civilizations around us, who are so eager to seize the vast territory of Huashu Kingdom, make their move. The air in the rest area seemed to sink for a moment. No one spoke immediately. The land occupied by the Huashu Kingdom was the most fertile land in the Mesopotamian region. If the Creator were to issue a divine decree in the future, the seventh generation of species would be chosen as the new species. Then all races will compete for the qualification to become the angel race. Becoming an angel would grant them Kagago's favor, giving them a better chance of survival even if Drucker were to revive in the future. The land of Beggar, especially its fertile continental plate, is definitely a strategic location that military strategists must contend for. Su Peng smacked his lips on the biscuit, then suddenly threw the wrapper away and looked at Zhang Yi with a pleading expression. The prison is big. He looked up, his eyes red but shining. Then you absolutely mustn't disappear again in the future, and you must take us with you wherever you go. If you pull something like this again, what will you do if you come back one day and find all your brothers wiped out and gone? These words may be crude, but they come from the heart. Rest assured. Zhang raised his hand and patted his chubby head. Now that they're back, we won't let them suffer for nothing anymore. I've already sent messages to the 6 major regions and Deng Shintong. Tell them to get ready for our return. This time, he narrowed his eyes, his gaze filled with a murderous intent mixed with an undisguised excitement. It's time for us to make our move. His power has been awakened, and his ability index has now reached 56,000 points. Although his ability index increased by 1,000 points, his overall combat strength increased far more than the numerical value, because he learned to make better use of his own power. Possessing a sharp weapon naturally breeds murderous intent. He would be polite to friendly races, but if there were those who were foolish enough to come to his door, he would just test how sharp his sword was. Here we end today's chapter. I hope you liked it. Kindly do also subscribe to my gaming channel. I have to Fina a way to survive. Thanks.
Alright, that's it for today's chapter. Tell me in the comments which part you enjoyed the most. If you love manga style stories, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the Buzz Play Manga. See you in the next chapter with more surprises. Thank you.